online. Hello, everyone. I think we will do a bit mix between English and Italian. So it's me and Cristina Mascanzoni Kaiser, and we decided to do this kind of to do this very improvised live to talk about the future of wine hospitality. Well, it's big words, but we'll just discuss a bit in general about what's going on, because as I just told her when we were offline, that there's a lot of fermentation or fermentation, a lot of things happening in the wine and hospitality world right now, like the Priscilla Hennekam and Master Wine Team Hanny are discussing a lot of things, how to steer or transform the focus from us wine people and wine hospitality people ourselves to the consumer, to the reader, to the visitor, to the follower, which in reality are things that are very behind in the wine industry, I think, because this kind of discussions in other industries is like years that they're going on. So at least since I have been following more marketing and thought leadership discussion groups for several years, it feels like the wine industry only now is catching up, and it feels like they really just have to go back and look what other industries have been doing and try to understand and just implement. I don't know. What do you think, Cristina? I'm not going to talk too much.
So, Kat, I'm so glad to be online with you today, and hello to you all. Hi,
Ciao to
Claudia.
Claudia Caligari. Ciao. Grazie
Ciao,
per
Claudia.
seguirmi.
And yes, we are discussing about this many times, I think, Kat, but lately, as we were saying before, the things are really blowing up in the way that a lot of people are talking, especially in our industry, in the wine and food industry, especially talking about Italy. A lot of people are talking about how to yes, create this kind of engagement that before, I don't know if you agree, Kat, before was we didn't need really to engage people to drink wine, but nowadays you need to do. And just because we have so many people that approach the wine in different ways, or they really do not really approach the wine, so we need to find a way to how to let them be engaged. And as you said before, this is something that the industry in other parts they are looking forward about this already since years. But we are really, because perhaps, yes, really we focused before only about the product, not on how to create this kind of engagement on people that do not really drink wine, for example, or
Yeah.
perhaps not looking forward to have this kind of vision to the younger generation, how they would approach wine.
I think,
And
yeah,
yes,
I think you're right. I think it's also about mindset, because if you think mainly about yourself, which is kind of easy to do because you want to sell your wine or the products you sell, if it's olive oil, wine, or whatever. Uh, but I think it's actually the mindset that needs to change, to realize that it's not only the wine bottle, as you say, it's not only the product, because it's so much more before that, after that,
yes,
and
and
how to focus the attention on the person in front of you, because they might not know anything about wine. They
true.
most probably are not interested in learning, about all the technical stuff that you want to tell them in the wine cellar or whatever.
Yes. And even more so, I was wondering, no, lately we were talking also with my students about this point, and I'm really glad that most of them are really open up their minds and trying to find yes, solutions in a way where also young people, especially young people, know best how to communicate, no, and how to approach, especially the ones that are already working in the hospitality industry and then in the wine and food industry. They know best how to, what we need to point out, for example, no.
Yeah.
um, and yes, lately I was wondering, no, I was thinking about this and doing brainstormings with, yes, my students, younger generation, but also colleagues. And we found out that there are so many things that we can combine, for example, with wine. For example, I have a colleague of mine now, she's working in the industry that approaches music and theater. Okay, and
Yeah.
she's now a manager of an artist. She's Indian, and she works as an interior designer. But lately, she started a personal collection of furnitures, and so she will start, for example, approaching the Italian public to do a showcase in Naples. But so my friend, she called me and told me, what do you think about proposing this kind of art in your wineries, in the wineries that you know, for example? Because she
Mm,
has a lot of friends and people that are approaching her style, her furnitures, that are Indian, and they are very interested also in wineries. And
mm,
this is really a good point where I say, you see, people is really changing this kind of mindset where we know we need to approach also different not only cultures but different yes, way of communicating in in this case, for example, Italy. So it's
yeah.
not only a museum where you can put your furnitures in, but it's the idea of a winery. Okay, the winery, because yes, of nature, because of the meaning of the human touch of the family that owns perhaps the winery. So all the environment that can really give more, I think, more also sense to the things that you are proposing, no, in this case her furnitures, no.
Mm,
And this could be also the sense of saying, okay, I can approach also the Indian market that we know are they are approaching also wine
mm,
in lately, no.
yeah.
So I mean we should focus really on these things, how we can mix and match other how to say, yes, things, especially to, I would, and this is something where we were talking about many times, Kat, the fact also that to underline how the Italian style is important in everything we do, no? And
Mm,
also talking about not only wine, but I don't know, retail industry, food,
yeah.
everything that is made in Italy. And this is really the point where people would be much more involved, especially the ones that are not approaching wine at first.
Well, I
So
think
this,
there's a lot of sectors that you could kind of involve and do events for different kind of interests and different kinds of groups. Like it could be art, it could be furniture, it could be food, it could be retail, it could be soccer, it could be football. I mean, there's a whole world that kind of adores Italian football. So there's a
true.
lot of people with money in
Or
that too, and if
sustainability.
it's
I mean, also sustainability, but for example, ethics. No, we
yeah,
we. So my idea is also supporting, for example, this kind of part, because we are talking. Everybody's talking about the 2030 agenda, no, and in
yeah,
this 2030 agenda, there are many points. These 17 points that every industry should then approach.
yeah,
I mean, 2030 is tomorrow,
yeah.
and if we speak about wineries, no one is approaching the
No,
2030 agenda, and I believe we should think also about this. So I mean, if we talk about the big ones, it's much more easy for them, yes, but for the small and medium wineries, how could they approach different 17 points. And,
No, no,
and
that's a good.
yes, and I believe we should approach this. They need to have this kind of support. And lately, I was wondering, talking about sustainability and ethics. No, I'm working with this association here in Verona. They're supporting people, so young people that have different problems, like I don't know, the Down syndrome, and
Yeah.
they are already supporting industry, the firms, with creating a standard where they can support with their people the idea of giving the certification to the firms of sustainability and ethics, which is one
Yeah.
of the 17 points. I believe we could do the same also for wineries. Okay,
Yeah.
creating a standard or, yeah, ideas supported by different associations that are in every region in Italy,
Mm.
where you give them a standard, they can choose the best one for their winery. So there will be someone that will take care of this. They do not need to think about this, but people that already are doing this kind of job will support them and will give
Mm.
them the certification. So this is one of the 17 points, but
Yeah.
I believe we should really think now, and it's already too late. I mean,
Well, it's already too late. I mean, it's also
but
big goals, so
yes, but I
good.
believe we should think also about this even more, because we know that people, especially people coming from the US, from different places, they're really focusing on these 17 points of these 17 goals and of the Agenda 2030. And I believe this could be also the push for people to not only tasting the product, but being yes, I think also interested in approaching different wineries. Don't you think, Katarina?
Yeah, I think it's also a way to be more transparent,
Yes, it's a
which
kind
can
of
open up for showing your kind of level of sustainability
yes, but I
and
mean also the
environment.
goals. We talked
Yeah.
about this before, like just after the COVID no situation, where everybody now, so myself too, we are searching places where we feel secure, no, and I
Mm.
believe also in this case, talking about wineries, if you have wineries that are certificated, um, not only about the product, also about hospitality, for example, no, you're much more secure. No, you feel more safe.
Mm. Yeah, but how would you certify a thing like that? I mean, who would be the
Yes,
certifier, the certifying
you
organ?
you need to find for the 17 goals. For example, if we're talking about in this case, no, sustainability and ethics. These associations, for example, that are already supporting these kind of people, no, they could certificate also the firm for
But isn't
sustainability.
it already part of these standard certifications? There are like two, Equitas and
No,
Viva. Aren't they this
this
part of their?
this is something more they need to do. It's not
Mm,
something that they already have. It's something more, you
mm,
know. And even more, I saw, for example, and this is something where we should work on, and this is something where I'm working strictly with them, because the idea is with some of the wineries I know in my area. The idea is really getting them involved in the winery itself. I don't know, taking part of I don't know, drawing of the etiquette of the bottle, the label of the bottle, or I don't know, taking part of some things that the winery already does, no, but certificating it and communicating it, you know. And this could be also, for example, an experience, a wine
but
experience.
now you're talking about the group, the association you're a part of.
Yes, but for example, you can decline this kind of idea into each winery, into each region, making it in a different way. So you know what they could do, okay? You know how far you can push this thing, and I don't know, creating three kinds of standards, okay? You can, for each winery, draw, okay, your special experience through sustainability and ethics, supporting something local, you know,
Yeah, but how would you certify that? Who is going to
through the
certify it?
association. The association itself, for example, the one with whom I'm working, they certify, they certify not the wineries at the moment, because they still have to start with them, but the firms with whom they are doing this kind of work, job for the 17 goals of the 2030 agenda. They do this and they give them the certification. So
Yeah,
they
but
are
is it their own certification or is it a state issued
uh,
certification?
so I believe that it starts local, but it's more wider. So it's something that
Mm.
is, I mean, it attends these 17 goals of the agenda.
Okay, okay.
So I
No,
believe
that's
this is
for sure one point of view to do it. I mean, it's interesting. I think it's a very good initiative. I think it's going to take a lot of time for it to become in every
yes.
region,
Also
probably.
because you have a lot of wineries to certify, you know. But if you can
Yeah,
start
and
from
also
the
to
consortium,
convince about the.
but you can start from the consortium, for example, Kat. This is
Mm,
also a point of view. I
mm,
mean, yes, it's very, I mean, you should be a winery that understands also the point.
mm,
Even more now that I mean, we know it's near in
mm.
2030, it's tomorrow, but
Mm.
the people, especially wineries, are not really aware of this. So I
No, I mean,
believe,
there's a lot of the 17 points are pretty big things. So I mean,
yes, for sure.
to arrive at that kind of level, it takes time.
Sure, sure.
Mm.
For
So
to
yeah, I
have
mean,
all
we're
the
already
17
late.
points done, yes. To have all the 17 points done, yes. But you know, I started thinking about this ethics and sustainability and ethics, because I think nowadays every one of us is very sensitive to this. No,
Well, also
I,
sustainability is a big word. I mean, can have many meanings. So it's
yes,
also hard to define what you mean by sustainability. We actually
sure,
discussed that today with another student in Rome. I'll also give your name to her because she was interested in talking to you.
great.
So she's writing a thesis. I think she's studying culture, history, and wine, food stuff in Rome. I don't remember where. So she's writing this thesis we already talked before, where she's very interested in the wine heritage in Italy and how it connects with other kind of concepts, such as also connected to the wine appellations. How they communicate their own heritage, and also she's more interested in the digital side, the digital marketing side. But we were discussing this thing this morning because she asked me about sustainability, and then we discussed that, and it's also, I think, I mean, all these 17 goals are of course very important, but it's also, I think, there is a ambiguous definition of sustainability, because you have these certifications of sustainability, so you can basically be sustainable for ethics, for economics, for water and energy use, but still you don't need to be organic. So I mean,
Sure.
there's a very kind of, I think, this level between, because for me, if you're not already organic as a base foundation, I mean,
It doesn't make
you know
sense.
so you try to be sustainable in the use of water and energy, but still you use chemical substances in the vineyard. I mean, what's the use then? I mean, I don't know. For me, it's very weird, but so I think there's really a need for these, both from your side, as you say, these kind of associations that uh, integrate to wineries and to other businesses.
No, and especially, organizations that, for example, for each of these 17 points,
Yeah,
they are, they are doing this kind of job. They're not. So if we're talking about ethics, they're already doing this kind of job.
no, no,
It's
I know, but I mean, there is so much more. I mean, it's also about the
yes,
environment. I mean,
sure,
the
sure.
temperatures are rising constantly since 1980s or 1990s. So I mean, there are both sides, and I think you really need to start defining what you mean by sustainability. I mean, not what we mean, but we know what people in general or what institutions
Sure. And
mean by sustainability. Because otherwise, a winery or a company can say we're sustainable because they focus on 1 or 2 points of what it means to be sustainable for a certification, but perhaps you then kind of ignore some other sides. Still,
yeah, sure.
it's
Because this is only one of the 17 points. So you need also to gain the
yeah.
others.
Hello, I don't know who it is because I don't see the name. Anyway, great to have you here. Yeah, it doesn't
Even
have to do with chemicals in the vineyards, we know, but it's still, I think, one of the fundamental cornerstones that to
true.
be
And
organic or
for example, Kat, that I wanted to discuss today with you today was this. So I'm so you know that I teach in this kind of business schools, ETS, where you
yeah,
have been in and some some episodes of this teaching of mine. But for example, so they were talking. So the idea is for 6 regions where this kind of business academies are working on. They decided to create wine hospitality laboratory for the
yeah,
students. Okay, so we should. So I'm in charge for Veneto and Lombardia, and each region should decide how to improve this kind of laboratory about wine hospitality, and doing what, creating an itinerary, a proposal, okay, for guests that want to approach, okay, the Italian vineyards, wineries by region in different ways, okay. So this was also a point. So for me, for example, and we talked about this also before, Kat, for me, for now, it's important to gain more and more knowledge about the hospitality and wineries, because we need to approach also these kind of people that are not really coming or going to a winery by itself. So I mean, not the ones that book, I don't know, this kind of wine experiences for 50 people, or they go and search for the cheapest wine experience, but the ones that really want to go into deep, not only about the history of the winery, but just because they want to go into deep about what a winery is. So the human factor, yes, being in nature, being involved in what the product is, and something like this. So they told me, for us, it's important that it will be a virtual tour. So,
mm,
I mean, it's something already seen, in my opinion. It's something where, uh, in my vision, and I see this even each year more, I don't know if you notice this too, is that more, so traveling is becoming very expensive.
yeah.
This is, a lot of people will travel in the future through what? Through virtual tours. This is my opinion.
Yeah,
And I believe virtual tours are interesting. Yes, perhaps pushing also the idea of coming here. This could be an idea, no? But I believe that we should focus more and more on this kind of hospitality, and knowing more and more about different cultures, different people that can approach, for example,
mm,
Italy, and they are not approaching not only Italy, but even more wineries, and where we
mm,
need really to focus on what we are proposing. Okay,
mm,
so I told them, no, I want our students to focus more and more of choosing the right territory, for example, in each region, and also searching about the right wineries. Why should I propose this kind of winery and not the other? And which
mm,
kind of experience I should pick out, for example,
mm.
or
Yeah.
even more, which kind of experience I should propose, because it's something that is missing. And I believe that the young generation now even more will make the change in this, because we are already in a new era. So the perception of the things is totally different. It's total, and it's not only about the product, it's how we transfer this, in my opinion. So you need to have a lot of knowledge about this, and to need to go more and more into deep. And it's not only about because everybody now is talking about, yes, virtual experiences,
Mm,
pushing it through, I don't know, social media. And I believe we need to make a step back and
mm,
focus on what is really the sense of everything, no?
mm.
And going into simplify things, but going much more into deep. Okay, I
Yeah.
think this is the thing that will make the difference.
Yeah.
In-
So Gail, it doesn't give the name here, but I think it's still Gail Troyer. So she says that in her opinion, it's the wine hospitality should have to do with promoting the ethics, motivation, philosophy, and tradition, craftsmanship, and knowledge, expertise of the producer, making this approachable, understandable, and attractive for the visitor potential client. And that Portugal does this very well. Appreciation of what makes the wine what it is. But I still think, Gail, that it goes beyond this because still you're very focused on the product. I agree totally with ethics, motivation, philosophy, tradition, craftsmanship, but I think it's also about the people. I mean, how is the producer connected to the local territory? How is he connected to the heritage, the wine heritage, but also the history and the kind of environment socially and financially that he lives
yes,
in, he works in, and how this connects to producing wine. Because still, if we only focus on the end product, the wine, and why it has the cost it has, I don't think we convinced that many new consumers to come. And because it's still, I mean, I totally agree what you're saying, because in the end you want to communicate these things, and it's what you want. But I still think we have to take a step away from the product and talk about all the things around. I don't know what you say, but I still agree with you, Gail. I'm totally agreeing with you. So I'm just trying to take the discussion a bit further. Yeah. So you say, of course, there is a
yes.
story behind every product, and I think this
And
is also what the wine professionals and wine people in the industry in this moment are discussing, that they're failing because they don't often manage to see beyond the product,
yes,
which
but also
makes it boring.
try, right. But Kat, I believe also this, and I usually do with my students, also approaching different wineries, for example. Um, I mean, just checking all the wines that they are producing, for example. And for
Yeah.
some wineries, especially the small ones, there are wineries that they are producing so many different types of wine that is totally unuseful, in my opinion. Okay, this is
Yeah.
why
But that
I,
also
I
to appeal to the different markets, I think.
this is the point. I would say a good exercise would also be with the winery itself. Just let's check which kind of wine that you produce could be much more interesting for which kind of target. Okay, young generation, perhaps the ones that have not so much alcohol, perhaps the easy drinking wines. Okay, as we said, no,
Yeah.
and I believe that this kind of exercise, it's also important, even more talking to you, Kat, for communicating wine. No, if I know it's not only about the winery, it's about which type of wine of each winery I communicate to which kind of target, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I agree. I totally agree. So I read this post that Tim Haney, the master of wine, wrote some weeks ago, I think, where he talks about the etymology of some of the words in wine: hospitality, guest, host, and he traced them to German etymology for the guest, and for the host is more Latin. And he says that we have to get back to see it as that hosting is actually to welcoming. So you have to, like the inns in the past and similar now was a way where the host had to make the guest feel, comfortable and welcomed and attend to his or her needs. uh, and that we should think about this also in wine hospitality, that it's not about us, it's not about the winery and our product, but it's about how you can feel the visitor to feel welcome, not only welcome, but cater to, that we listen to their needs, their interests. And I think that is also about, to focus on the consumer or the visitor or the reader or whatever, that they are in the center, just like a lot of the marketing has done that for a while now, to build communities where it is actually the consumers or the buyers that do the marketing themselves. They set the tone because they communicate what they want, what they need, and I find that interesting. But I think you disappeared now.
I'm here.
Okay, good. But I think it relates to what you just said. That you have to
The
kind
human
of
factor. Yes. And what you're just what we're discussing now, no, it's really this, no. I usually talk about the human factor, no. And you know this, Kat, we talked about this so many times, but I believe that human factor will make the difference in all the industries, especially in wine, because especially when we talk about Italy and Europe in general, because usually, so as you said before, we focused more on the product and not what's around the product or what's
yeah.
beyond the product. But now we need to do this because targets are totally different. There are not so many people that will approach wine directly, so we
No,
need to
no,
convince them to approach it through different ways, in my
no. That's
opinion.
true. That's perfectly true. Yeah,
Yes, and the second point, you were talking about this. I didn't read this article, but please give me perhaps the link. I
I'll
would.
send you the link. It was a post on LinkedIn, so I'll send you the link.
Okay, and but the point is really this. So I was talking about this friend of mine. She's working in luxury hospitality, and she was called by retail firm, a French retail firm, because they're searching for people that come from the luxury hospitality branch to sell their luxury goods, just because they understood that it's much more effective having someone that knows about the details, how to welcome a guest or a consumer, okay, than the product itself. Because if it's the person, the people will make you buy this kind of wine, will make you buy, I don't know, luxury goods. The people will make you decide to come back to this winery, for example, no.
Yeah,
And I believe we are getting more and more aware finally about this, that it's the human
yeah,
factor that will make more and more the difference, and it will be a luxury good even
mm,
more. Yes, because we all this technology, okay, even more now. I mean, I think it's good in a way, but luxury will be meet in person, being in a winery in person, being away
yeah,
in a place in person. This will be luxury, and not in years. It will be the times are changing so fast, things are changing so fast, and this is really the point where we need to focus on it now, because it
yeah.
will be
No, no, I agree totally, totally. No, I agree.
And
So there
and
were
we
some
talked about.
comments.
Sorry, yes,
Should we
Manya.
just take the comments? So Manya says about the 2030 agenda. What are the opportunities for the wine hospitality industry to support sustainable land use and prevent land degradation, which is one of the goals? 3, innovative vineyard management practices. I don't know. I actually don't have the answer. Do you think this could be a factor that makes more people approach and appreciate wine? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yes, I think yes,
Mm.
especially for people that are really focusing on these goals. This is
Mm.
also a cultural thing, I believe.
So,
But
so you
I
think that also by focusing on how do you say concept and opinions, not only on kind of local culture, but also like what people are into, like you said, like in this case, the land and how to prevent the degradation of land. I mean, I find this very interesting that you could actually
I
focus
yeah.
on concept-based
And
groups to,
the most interesting thing, Katya, will be, how you decline it. Because you
yeah,
need to decline it. You need to decline it by country, by territory, by,
yeah,
if we talk about wineries, and you know it best, especially when we are talking about the small ones, how you
yeah,
can decline a concept like this in a small winery.
yeah.
Okay, that they could really afford and could be, but I believe this will be the chance,
Well, it's
in.
interesting because you could categorize these kind of communities then. I
True.
mean, and you could approach also communities that are suitable for you. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a concept to develop, but it's very interesting, I think.
I believe
Um,
nobody's talking about this, but I
no,
believe that this agenda should be, we need to make it real, no? And we're talking about Italy, and it's Caterina living
yeah.
here for years. The
Okay, so
Here
now I
very
wanted.
slow.
Okay, so Gail is a bit more negative. She says that the agenda will do nothing at all on a positive level.
As it
As
will,
with AI and Chat GPT,
I
well, we'll see.
Mania, it depends how you decline it. I think it depends on how you decline it.
Mm. So I think you mean level it, how you categorize it.
Right.
Yes.
So how you categorize it, true also, and it will make the difference on the small
Mm.
industries if we're talking about wine on the small
Yeah.
wineries.
Okay, so Gail answers Manya to look for yourself and use your own analysis abilities, and she gives this link to the We Forum. Okay, we'll have to look into that. Thank you, Gail, for giving all these
I
interesting points.
I believe
Uh,
it will make the difference because it's how, I mean, true. We know that we are in this era and everything is very it's growing fast, it's getting very fast in this old technological thing and virtual thing, but I believe it's always about the human factor, how
mm,
you can manage it through the human factor, how
mm.
you decline it,
No, I
how
agree
you.
with you. I think there's a lot to do. I can see also Gail's point of view because I also think that a lot of the points are not going to be reached, or a lot of players are not going to look positive on these points by 2030. So I can see your point of view, Gail, but I also share Christina's that we have to start and give our interest and engage in this kind of thinking, because otherwise we will never move forward. So um, I think there's also different levels here to consider.
Yeah,
But I think it's interesting to see how smaller wineries or mid-sized can actually contribute in some way to get closer to these goals. And I think that's probably the main point. I mean,
no,
to
also because
start at least to.
people in the world, I see this also through my son, I mean, they teach these 17 points, even more also at school. You will have
Mm,
people that will choose destinations through these 17 goals. So I mean, we cannot say, okay, it's not something that we can reach. Okay, I believe that Italy will not be the country that will reach all the 17 goals in
I don't think
2030.
anybody will reach the 17 goals,
but
I
you know,
think it's, yeah.
you can move forward on this, also getting it more personal in the way that you do this. It will be declined, as I said. Okay. uh, Different countries, different situations, how you can decline it into also the small wineries in Italy, for example. Okay. Getting it like more point to talking about territory and destination. I believe we should think about this now also.
No, I find it very interesting. I think it would be very cool to do kind of a more study of how it could be done, because I think, I mean, for a lot of wineries, with small steps, it would also be easier than to just, accept all the
All
bigger
at
groups
once.
and
Yes.
anyone who comes, who has like, 20 different demands, because when they arrive, it's not what they thought it was, because they don't have any control, or being selective of the kind of visitors they want. And I think you can control that a bit with a bit of research and a bit of, also social listening, or listening to what your visitors or clients say, and what you also can do. So I think there's something there. It would be very interesting to do
Yeah,
this.
because to find also, you need to have this kind of knowledge of who will be the consumer of I don't want to say the future, the consumer now. Who is the consumer? Who will be the one that will approach wine and wineries?
I
And
think
I think,
a lot of wineries and a lot of people don't really know that, because they don't really take the time to look into it. And I can understand that, but I think also you have to do it. Otherwise, how will you?
yes, but even more, and we so it's much more simple. If I mean, talking about the 2030 agenda, but it's talking about Italy, for example, about our situation sometimes, and we talked about this, and you're aware about this cut, but I believe, and I was lately. I had some friends here in on Lake Garda, and we were traveling a lot, and we were yes, approaching also, we were trying also to new restaurants, new places, and really what is missing is really drinking local. Difficult to find local wines. And even more, I believe it's not about talking to a sommelier. It's not about having a restaurant where you have a sommelier, but it's about someone that talks about the wine and the place where it grows. Okay, because I believe that even the people that sommelier or the waiter or the one the family owner that manages the restaurant, if they will talk about not only the technical, okay, structure of the
No, I
wine.
don't think the
They
technical
go more,
means anything. Nobody wants
yes,
to hear
about the
that.
winery, where the wine, the grapes are growing, where the place is, about the winery itself. I think this will be the way that I want people to approach wine. I don't know if you
Yeah,
agree, but I believe, and also this would be really the starting point where people will be also curious to go and visit the winery itself,
yeah,
no?
yeah. I mean,
So
I think that's really like something that is needed a bit everywhere. I mean, not only in Italy. I don't know abroad, but also abroad. I think, to speak about actually what's behind the wine, what's the story, how it's connected to the local territory where the tourist is in this moment. And I think there's much higher probability they will come and visit you than just talk about that this wine. Here you can feel cherry and the saltiness and minerality and the volatile alcohol is this and that, because nobody really knows that anyway. They don't want
Oh.
to hear
But
about that, because they can taste the wine if they like it themselves. So I mean, you just influence them what they should feel if you talk about these things. And I
and
think,
for example, lately I was we had a meeting in a winery, okay, in Bergamo, and they had in this during this meeting there there was a restaurant owner. They have this restaurant in Bergamo, and he was talking about that he really focused, and this is the particular thing of his restaurant. It's not about the food and the things; it's that they decided to create a wine list that is only local.
mm,
So they have a wine list that is only local. So I believe that this will make the difference also in the future. So
mm,
I will search for a restaurant like this, for example, in my area, because we do not have, for example, no, a winery where you can taste all the local wines of the area, and perhaps also matching them with some local food. And this is
mm.
what I think is also making a step back. No, let's do the things that are. I mean, it's
I
not.
mean, I think it depends on the level of restaurant too, because
Yeah,
I mean, a
sure.
lot of restaurants have kind of local wines. At least here in Tuscany, they have. I don't know about Lake Garda, but then of course, if you're a higher level fine dining, of course, you have to have a more comprehensive wine
Sure.
list.
Sure.
But I totally agree that the section for local producers should be more explored, because I think there's a lot of interesting things you can find. And
Yes, but
mm,
even more, I mean, Kat, we were talking about this also before. It's the fact that I believe that people, even the ones that are more aware about wine and have a more, I don't know, knowledge about this, a wider knowledge about this, but I believe that now being also surprised and getting in too deep about local wines is now luxury in a way,
yeah,
no? It's the thing,
yeah.
oh, it's something unexpected, no? Because you expect some labels being on your wine list.
No,
But
it's
I
true. It's
believe,
true. Like if you go to Maremma and you go to a restaurant, and probably they have like wines from, I don't know, Bolgheri or Piemonte or Trentino, but they might not have, local Maremma producers. So that's I can see that. That's true.
I
And there's
mean,
a lot of producers to discover. So it's but that's also part of the question of not being so focused on the usual brands and the usual type of wines that also us wine professionals often are fixated on, because there's a whole world of wine to discover. There's a good wine doesn't mean that it has to be a certain brand or a certain style, like Bordeaux, Bourgogne, or something like that. It can be a wine like a Scigliajolo from close to Pitigliano. It can be a great wine, but nobody knows perhaps about it, because nobody takes the time to discover it. So I totally agree.
yes, I believe we should really focus on this now, on the things that nowadays are really getting people involved. First of all, they are also because I believe that especially this going virtual, no,
Mm.
this also yeah, TikTok and everything like this. Everybody is only focusing on, and they have also the idea of this kind of wow effect. No, everything should be boom, no, and I believe, yes, making taking a step back and focusing on not on the simple things, but of the ones that are forgotten, no, that
I
no
think,
one,
yeah, I agree
yes,
totally, because I
and
think,
especially
no, I agree to be
yes,
simple, but simple without being trivial, senza essere banale. You should, I
right.
mean, you mean that, no? To focus on the simple things, and
Yeah.
take
And
a step
then
back
second
and look.
one, as we said before, also focusing on different targets, no,
Yeah,
talking about people in on different targets. And nowadays we have so many. I was talking lately, and I believe we talked about this before, no, I was getting impressed about people So I had a student of mine coming from Lombardia, and he was so we were talking about different territories, and he told me about this painting La Danza Macabra, which is in Clusone, this small place in Lombardia. And this painting, La Danza Macabra, he told me is very interesting. There are a lot of people going there, like, yes, looking at this painting. But strangely, because the place Clusone is really a small town, okay, and everybody was looking after this painting. But people coming from around the world, not only Europeans, Americans, and at the end they found out that this painting was used as a background of a very famous video game, The
Ah,
Witcher.
yeah, yeah, you told me about that. Yeah, that's really cool.
And and a winery near Clusone, they decided to put on a label of a wine of one of their wines this Danza Macabra. And I believe also this. Nowadays we have so many different targets of people, like people that are traveling for video games, for example,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
backgrounds of video games. And we should be aware also of this, no? This
Mm.
could be a niche that nobody is approaching, but just
I think it's
create.
a great big niche because there's a lot of gamers and there's a lot of communities with different gaming interests. So I think it's
Yes, I believe that we need to be more so using also hospitality, not being yes. I mean, hospitality. It's not about being structured, but I believe that we need to be more selective and structured
yeah,
about having the knowledge to whom I could sell best this wine, okay, and how. Okay, I'm in a special in a territory where, for example, this winery near Clusone. Okay, they decided. Okay, I have this light wine. Okay, with less alcohol, could be interesting, fresh, could be interesting for the younger generation. Okay, I put the label of the Danza Macabra on it, and I push it into. It will get viral to the people that will approach, for example, this kind of video game. No, but
yeah.
this should be the vision. I should be very and this is why we need people that have the knowledge in hospitality and about the territory going
But
into.
this is another interesting point because I read an article by this Mark Sheffer, he's an American marketing thought leader, and he just wrote a blog article the other day or the other week about this kind of differentiation, but also how younger generations like the Z and especially they're not so much on the general social media channels. So how in the future how you will do kind of social listening and marketing research, because a lot of these gamers are on Discord, no? So Discord used to be only for gamers, and then during the pandemic it became a bit more. There's more and more people who use it now. I think he said it has gone up from 25 to 40% in the last couple of years. But it's like closed communities and mainly for gaming. So he says you have all these hidden communities that could be great for your products or
Selling
your
products, no?
services, but you have no way to do research there because you would have to be a member of the group, and you can't just go in there and say I want to sell my wine or I want to sell my wine hospitality, because they're not interested in having you as a group member, because you have to. So I don't think he was calling it like the hidden or the hidden marketing of the future or something, how to
But it's
tap into.
true.
And I think it's going to be a big part of these people who actually could
No, it's
be
true.
interesting for your wineries.
I believe we need to be more scientific in searching for the right targets. No, and this means that we need to have a knowledge about the territory and the places. I believe, and And this is how we should improve. It's not about, so the human factor will be important. It's not this, it's not that we will lose our identity, but we need to be more scientific about the people that could be interested in the product
Mm.
and pay more for the product. This is my opinion, because I live on lake, by the Lake Garda, and this year I saw there are less tourists, like the years before. And I mean, we, if we talk about Italy, especially in the northern part, we lived, if we talk about tourism, we were supported by tourism coming from German, from this kind of country, Germany, okay, England perhaps. But nowadays
Holland.
you cannot. Yes, the economy is changing. These kind of people will pay less, but not only pay less, perhaps they will not come even more to Italy because it's too expensive. So we
Mm.
need really
Yeah, that's
to focus also on this. This is why I say we need to be approach also tourism in a more scientific way. We need to approach also the people that will pay more for the product.
true. Mm.
Okay, and
That is
this
true.
is why we need to have a knowledge, not only on the product, but about welcoming these kind of guests,
Yeah.
how, where we can find them, okay,
Mm.
what can we propose them that will be interesting for them, and why should they come.
Yeah, that's true.
It will
That's
be, I believe, I don't know, Kat, but I think you have my same idea in this, in the same vision in this way. This is why we need people to have knowledge,
true. Mm.
because it's not in tourism. So especially if we're talking about Italy, um, we were used, okay, to have people coming for tourism here. It was easy, but
Mm.
it will be not easy like before anymore. This is my opinion,
No, I agree.
because
I agree. But that's the same with,
the,
Tuscany. I mean, they have a loads of people, but it's not that they're doing that much in reality to segment or to research or how to, offer better. It's just that the people come anyway here because, Tuscany and is such a big tourist region. I mean, if you see other regions, I think that in Tuscany they do it so much better. It's just that if you're perhaps in Basilicata, you have fewer people who arrive to Basilicata. So which is often hard to explain because they think that in Tuscany and Piemonte they do it so much better. But it's just that they have a big influx of people, so they don't really need to do that much because. But I think in the future they will have to because, as you say, everything is changing.
for sure, for sure.
Just to comment on the comment of Man, I don't think that robot and AI is about replacing. I think it's tools that you need to learn to use. Your knowledge and your experience, nobody can take away from you, but you can learn how to implement AI to enhance or make it more effective what you do. But I don't think it's going to.
I totally agree. I
Uh,
totally agree.
Target and knowledge are the A and O, as they say in Germany. Yes. If you don't know what you're talking about, you should move on. Fashion knowledge are 100% the most important issues here. As to cost, we all have to pull in our belts soon. No, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's a question about kind of rejecting the people who has less money because there will always be, different levels of offers. It's not that everything is going to be only luxury. But I think
No,
as a
so yeah.
winery, you have to diversify your offers.
Yeah, sorry if we have been misunderstood. So if I have been misunderstood, I'm half German too. It's not about this. I mean, it's about tourism changing. Okay,
Mm.
it's about tourism changing. So I mean, and this is my personal. I mean, it's my personal also. I mean, experience, because I and Kat, so my family owns an hotel on Lake Garda, so since years. So I mean, and I believe that the point is, it's not about Germany. Okay, it's about that the market mix was, they were not aware about the fact that we need also people coming from different places, because you will never know what will happen. We will never know what will what happened with COVID, for example, no? Or for example, if we talk about Russia, so I had wineries that were focusing on the Russian market, and only on the Russian market, and then, you know, this
Mm.
is the point. It's not, so we were talking about Germany because, okay, I live in Bardolino, and Germany is the main point. But I believe it's not about Germany, England, Great Britain, France, or we need to be aware that economies change also the way that you do tourism, okay? And
Mm.
we need also to have this vision, just because we saw in the, especially in the last years, how things can change fast. So
Yeah.
especially for tourism, if you do not have the backup, what will you do? What will you do? And especially, this is something I teach to my students. You know, I mean, the entry level for us is mainly Italians, because they come often, but they are the ones that spend less. Okay. Then we have the Europeans, but the ones that, for example, talking about Italy, will make the difference and will really make, not the difference, but where we say, okay, the winery, the hotel, the structure will gain the money, will be the ones that have more money. Okay,
Mm.
and they will come not from Europe in this moment. Okay, they come from abroad. So like I mean US, the BRICS countries, which I believe will be the new challenge. Okay, but we need to have this kind of open mind. And
Mm.
I'm telling this just because I just wanted
No, no, but it's
to
true.
close,
It's true. I mean,
you know, to close the circle, because I in my personal, okay, experience, I decided not to work in my family owned hotel just because of this, because they always do and still do like in this way. So they decided only to work with special markets, so the
mm.
markets that are coming anyhow, not
Mm.
focusing on the idea, okay, I structure my hotel on a market mix where I know where I can
Mm.
focus on, okay, differently. Okay,
Mm.
but it's not about talking about the German market itself or something like this. I mean, but
No,
it's
no, no.
about
I think you understood
the
that.
vision. Okay,
Yeah.
this
No,
is
I
what
mean, it is a kind of, you know, dual thing, duality, because of course, as the world goes now, people will have less and less money, and but then there will be the other people who will have more and more money. So it's going to be more kind of a gap. And of course, you will have to have different offers for different groups. It doesn't mean that you will not accept the people who just went to pass
no,
by for a tasting and buy a bottle. I mean, it's not that you're going to throw them out. It's just that you probably need for your own survival to have also a strategy how to attract the upper
but
level groups that have more to
even
spend.
more the people that are coming now. I mean, the fact is that we changed in
Yeah.
general. I mean, we changed in general. So if I approach now, I know I decide to go on a holiday and I choose the destination, the hotel. So I'm much more aware, and I think this opinion is shared. If I spend money, I want value,
Yeah. No, that's true.
especially if we're talking about hospitality.
Mm.
So I want value for my money.
Yeah.
Before, I believe it was different,
Yeah. No, that's
but
true. That's
now
true.
even more. And this is why we need people focusing on this, and we need people that are aware and have the knowledge to manage this,
Yeah. No, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's going to be
especially in
kind of a necessity for the future, I think, to have the knowledge and the mindset to develop these kind of visions and strategies. Also for smaller wineries, and I think it doesn't mean that it has to cost big money. You
No,
just
it's
have
not about
to
business.
hire one person who actually has the knowledge to help you, and I
No,
think
especially
it will then be a return on the investment very, very
yeah,
fast.
especially because these young people that are very passionate and then they start from hospitality. They do not start from wine, for example. I saw in these last years that it's much more easier to teach someone, to give them knowledge about wine than starting by scratch, talking about hospitality with them, because
Hospitality
it's
to
about
a wine person, that's
it's
true.
about empathy, it's about going too deep, and this is something that mostly you cannot teach, you have inside. Okay,
Yeah,
so I believe, especially we are talking about, for example, these business schools where I teach. These are young people. They're grown up in this environment of hospitality, and they want to start even more. And they're very precious to these kind of wineries, small ones, because
yeah.
they grow into these wineries.
Mm.
They can give their personal vision, and they need this kind of support, because it best, Kat, these small wineries are very interesting, but if you talk about hospitality with them, they say, no, I do not have time, I need to produce my wine, right?
Yeah,
So I believe this is really a support in which we can grow,
yeah.
definitely.
No, that's true. That's for sure. Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we're
So we've
also
had a lot of comments here. It's been a really nice discussion. I think we can continue offline because otherwise we are going to go on for long online. But I think it's been really interesting, and thank you everyone who commented, Gail and Manya, and I think there was somebody else, Claudia. I think there was somebody else, but no, I don't find the name. Anyway, thank you everyone who's commented, and stay on, Cristina. If you have anything more to add to this discussion, just feel free to comment to us here on LinkedIn. If you still are listening in, feel free to share the stream. And I think we should do this every now and then, perhaps once a month or once every 2 months or
yes,
something.
it
I
would
think
be
it's
nice, really, and very interesting. I would love also perhaps once also to have one of my students with our discussion,
No, that would be cool. That would be very cool.
so that we
Um,
have also the point of view of people that are starting, for example, this kind of job, and what they perhaps have as feeling towards what is happening, and how they would love to, on what they would love to focus on.
yeah, no, that would be cool. Yeah. No, we should think about that to make it into a more strategic live stream.
Right.
But thank you, Cristina, and thank you everyone who listened in. And as I said, if you have anything to add, just comment or write us. And stay on, don't click off. And have a great weekend, and see you soon.
Bye. See you soon. Thank you.